Okay, hey folks, I brought my bike in for a recall, and so I thought I'd take out the very, very lovely looking Honda Africa Twin. I have to say it is a really nice looking bike, so let's give it a go. I've ridden it out of the dealership that I've borrowed it from, and I have to say they gave me a couple of warnings which I've already found on it. That the horn is pretty much exactly where my V-Strom indicators are, so I keep tooting the horn when I try to indicate, which is a tad bit funny at the moment, but it will probably get quite annoying because they've put the indicators lower than usual, than you're normally used to finding. So I've got to basically almost look at the indicator to make sure I'm pressing the right thing. There was something else as well, but can't remember what that was. So yeah, I'm taking it for a bit of a spin. Haven't got long on it, but I just thought I'd bring the bike that's so full of the hype that it's had on the build up and the release of it from Honda. All the sort of adventure bike forums and various different other magazines have all test ridden it, and so I thought I'd give it a go just to kind of see what all the hype is about, and if it stands up to, stands up to the hype and stands up to what people have been saying about it. So this is it. I have to say, I've got on it, I rode the V-Strom over here, and I've pretty much got straight on this. So it is quite a good moment for comparison. And as I rode out of the showroom, I did notice that a number of things immediately. Because it's a parallel twin, not a V twin, there is a slight difference in power delivery. I have to say this is smoother than the V-Strom. The power delivery on the V-Strom is quite jerky. It just feels quite raw, like the power is being released really sort of abruptly, whereas this is it was really quite smooth. The ride position is actually it's pretty similar. The height of the bike and the height I'm sitting at is pretty much identical. The screen on this is actually, I haven't taken it fast yet, but it feels pretty good at the moment. Of course, it's got all the bits and bobs on it, the traction control, the ABS, which is interesting because you can turn the ABS off, but only on the rear wheel. So the ABS remains on the front wheel, but you can turn it off via a button at the front here to the rear wheel, and then you can power slide it, which is quite a nifty little function if I knew how to use it, but I don't, so I won't. Plus it's really, really miserable and drizzly out here at the moment. It's pretty blooming horrible, to say the least. So I've got full traction control on, full ABS on, and that's how it will stay. Look at all this flooding. The joy of the fens. A little bit of water, this is what happens, it turns into a sea. So anyway, yeah, so I've got a drizzly day, but the conditions aren't too bad to test ride the bike. The power delivery is really smooth, like I say, but it's quite gentle at first, but actually if you keep the revs coming up, you notice that it gets stronger and stronger. Oh, nearly tooted again. I mean the horn, that is. First impressions are really good, actually. It's comfortable. It's smooth on the delivery. The sound, it sounds nice. It sounds a little bit more throaty actually than my V-twin. The standard cans on, I think this has got, I'm pretty certain this has got standard cans on it. In which case it's quite nice and throaty and sort of, you know, got a nice deep purr to it. And that's just the standard can, so presumably, oh, this is muddy. Oh, this isn't nice. So presumably, yeah, with the with an aftermarket exhaust on here, you might well. There you go. I don't know whether the microphone actually picks that thump up, but yeah, it sounds good. It's got a nice firm ride, but it's again, it's well cushioned. Actually, I'm really quite impressed by this. I only bought my V-Strom last year, but it's got me thinking. No, it hasn't. It is actually this against the V-Strom is actually quite comparable in some ways. The engine size is the same, or pretty much the same, and you know, the ride position is pretty much the same. These wing mirrors aren't quite as good, they're a little bit thinner, but they still do the job, I think, pretty much. They're better than a sports bike where you just look at your elbows. Oh, nearly tooted the horn again. So the display is nice. Oh God! Oh, there it goes. Oh God, that's so annoying. So yeah, so the display is really good. It's all electronic. There's a lot of information on there. You can paddle through with the selection paddle here on the left side, just like the fog lights on, I think, because it is a bit misty and a bit foggy. Another interesting thing I was told before I set off was that a new directive, some kind of legal thing that's out, is that the front indicators only are lit, but dimly lit, and then when you indicate, obviously they brighten up and they show and they flash as an indicator should. But it's a bit puzzling, I think, initially, because your indicators are on. So I don't really know. I haven't really seen a bike with that when I've been in my car. So I haven't given it any thought. But yeah, that's an interesting one. To me, that would just be a bit confusing. But maybe not. Maybe they've given it lots of consideration, and it's the safest way of illuminating the bike a bit more and making it stand out. I guess it does, rather than having more white lights at the front. To put slightly, dimly lit orange lights at the front might just make it show up a bit more. I don't know, maybe that's the reason. But it's an interesting one. I'm gonna look into it. But anyway, yeah, back to the bike. It is a very pretty machine. I like it in the blue, white and red colours. Everything's laid out quite nicely. The bars are quite nicely spaced actually. They're quite broad, wide bars, but they're in at the perfect height. Oh, and I tooted again. Gets a lot of looks, but that's because anyone who knows it knows that it's a new bike, and you know, everyone's a little bit intrigued by it with the buzz. It's taken a little bit of its looks, a little bit of its design, tried to keep in with the classic original style of it. Oh, by the way, the clutch is really nice and light, really nice and light as well. And the gear change is good. It's positive, and it's not at all fluttery or haphazard. It's a nice solid gear change. The balance of the bike is pretty good. All in all, I'm impressed. But it would be interesting to take off-road, because it does, you know, it doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel clunky. It feels, you know, manageable, and it feels as though it would do quite well off-road. And from the reviews I've seen, some of the professional official reviews I've seen, you know, they've rated it as doing really quite well. Yeah, that feels good. Feels good. That feels really nice. But yeah, all in all, really good ride, I think. Really good bike. I would most definitely consider it. And matched up against the V-Strom, it would be, yeah, it would be a difficult one. But you know, I have my V-Strom, and I'm happy with the bike. So I'm not going to be changing it immediately or very soon. But if I had to make a choice, this would be a real strong one. Real strong one. So there you have it. The Africa Twin. Really nice looking bike. Goes really well, really smooth. There's been a lot of thought that's gone into it, I think. Yeah, I'm a big fan actually.